Sometime in the 21st century, this is the Star Trek Discovery Pod, a sometimes funny, rarely ever smart podcast covering all things new
Whoa.
and classic Trek.
Wow.
I'm your Malbec drinking captain this evening, Mariah Gossett. With me on the view screen, we have
Clyde Haynes. Yo, you got to be some type of G to let your man get a call from his ex and be like, yeah, go holler, go see what she needs. Nah, man, dead that.
Clyde Haynes. Thank you. And
And Paul Satachet.
hi, Paul.
Hey. I'm not even gonna try today this week. I'm not even gonna try. I got nothing.
No puns, no pun
puns.
trials. All right.
Picard loving Paul. It doesn't work. It sounds terrible. It just
Picard patron Paul.
Yes.
Picard.
Picard.
Yeah.
If you haven't guessed yet, tonight we are reviewing and discussing the premiere of the final season of Star Trek Picard, The Next Generation. But first, just a couple of reminders. First of all, we are a part of the virtual TrekCon this weekend. We're so excited to have a bunch of new folks here. Thank you for joining us this evening. And if you check out the virtualtrekcon.com, you can check out the schedule for the rest of the virtual con this weekend. I know right after us live on YouTube, or it's a second premiere, is The Art of Star Trek Picard and 90s Trek, keeping the theme going. So, Paul, I think there's some other reminders for those who might be joining us on the live stream for the first time.
Yeah, like this is the boilerplate. Like, a reminder to listeners to subscribe to our podcast at Apple, Spotify, YouTube. All links are at StarTrekPod.co. And if you love the episodes or the content, please consider being a Patreon supporter for just $2 per episode at patreon.com/StarTrekPod. Pew pew, money, please, please.
Pew. And Clyde, how can people participate if they are watching us live on YouTube this evening?
All right. So if this is your first time, we do something special here in Star Trek Pod. We want you to participate. So if you've got a comment, a question, you want to be part of the show, we just ask you to type capital P, capital O, capital D, capital Pod in the chat, and we'll take a look. Now, in a minute, there's going to be a special moment where we want to hear what you thought about the show. So we're just going to ask you if you want to share your impressions, hey, it's been a long time, I haven't seen, Riker or Beverly, and here's what I thought. Then you just type capital H, capital F in the pod. You'll know what we're talking about, capital HF, and we'll get to your thoughts on the show.
Indeed. All right, let's fire up this metaphasic shield and get into some hot breaks. It's time for some hot breaks. Clyde, what did you think of this episode?
I was really excited about this episode, and so went in with some expectations. It's like, all right, what are we gonna have? And I wasn't necessarily disappointed. I thought it had action, it had ships, it had nostalgia. There was a lot, and then it had what is Star Trek without a jerky anti-hero captain or admiral or somewhere in hovering around. We used to say this with Discovery all the time, so I'll just go ahead and say it now. Hey, yo, Shaw, mad sus. Shaw is mad
Very sus.
Not feeling that dude. But all in all, it was great to see a lot of the band back together in interesting ways. I will say the Rafi storyline, I'm not sure what I'm seeing yet. Not feeling it.
Shaw is sus.
Shaw is sus. Bringing it back. Paul, what did you think of this episode?
Well, I've been on record of saying that, I'm a real, give me anything Star Trek kind of thing, and and I have to say that watching this episode, it was awesome. you got Beverly Crusher, it felt like a little bit like opening up with it felt like a Western with her pump action, phaser versus like Uzi phasers. You have the music. The music is just so nostalgia bait, and and I know what you're doing, but I love it. It's all this old time Star Trek music, and as far as Shaw, I agree to disagree.
Oh no.
Because, Imagine this, it's your ship. It's your Neo Constitution class ship, new retrofit, and the old man comes in and says, "Hey, like let's do this." No. I mean, I think don't misunderstand me. I love Picard. I love Riker, but like if all of Star Trek, all of Starfleet do not make. Like there are people who have to do like work, and like Shaw just strikes it as no.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm gonna say this. If you have a Saturday pickup basketball game and this is your squad and you and your buddies run this pickup game every Saturday morning at the YMCA, I'm just going to tell you like this. Michael Jordan shows up at the gym and wants to run. You step back, right? Like we're talking about Picard and Riker. Man, sit down, sit to the seat next and be like, hey, what y'all want to do, y'all do. That's what I'm saying.
My response to that is like, they also have a habit of blowing shit up. They make a mess.
All right, we're gonna dive into Shaw, but first, I haven't given my hot freak yet.
And wait, Mariah, what's your hot freak?
Thank you for asking, Paul. I'm so glad that finally happened.
That's right.
I thought this episode was a bang up job of a premiere. I think this is what a lot of folks have wanted from the last couple of seasons of Picard. I do get a little sad that we're going to miss some of the cast we've kind of learned to love at this point. But I am excited to see what the returning cast is going to do. And I agree with you, Paul. The music is probably some of my favorite of most of the series. I think it's like an incredible job of weaving in a lot of nostalgia with a lot of new themes that we've kind of come to know and love. And way to open up with just Beverly Crusher kicking ass. And I'm like, if this is going to tell me what I'm expecting for the rest of the season, I am in. My only nit to pick in my hot freak is why a pump action rifle?
Because
what are you pumping? There's nothing. That's not how. Why? Why for a phaser?
Like the evolution of the squirt gun was like you had the squirt gun and then you had the super soaker and stuff. Could it be that like in the future, in the 25th century, like pump action equals phaser fire? That's a miraculous technology. Or
but why would you be able to shoot a phaser without pumping it, and then all of a sudden need to pump action a phaser?
Maybe the point.
maybe that pump is giving it like a little extra juice, right? So it's not just like a stun. Like this is like I got you in one shot.
Yo, stun.
Yeah, that's anyway. Let's see what we got going on in the chat with some hot breaks. We've got quite a few popping out. We've got Choopy with, I was so happy to see they didn't write off Laris off the screen. I like them together so much. I hope he doesn't dump her. I think that's going to be the first and last time we see her. That is my official predictus.
No,
we'll get her again very last episode.
Did you see how she's like, there was this moment where she kissed him, and then it was like it was like this pat, and I was just like, "Oh, that's goodbye." Like that's
no. Yeah. They talk about they talk about the bar, right? She goes like, "There's this bar on the planet I'm at."
Yeah, that's going to be the last scene of the whole series.
Exactly.
Yeah,
if he ever makes it, it's like she might as well said, "If you could make it to the bar, like I'll know we have a chance, but if not, it's okay." Like,
let's see. Kian says, hot freak, loved the episode, but not sure I like the idea of Crusher avoiding Picard for more than 20 years because she apparently had his son. Not confirmed if it is his son. She had a son. I think he is of some kind of special experimental child, and that's why these people are chasing.
I'm going to say it like this. Gates McFadden is a lovely woman. I imagine that she could have had any number of suitors. It does not have to be Picard's love child, like everybody thinks. Like, assuming that she carried a torch for this man and this is the only man she had a relationship with, not buying it.
My hot freak on that is like, they haven't seen each other for 20 years, and the kid looks about 20. I'm just saying. I'm just doing math and biology here.
Well, he looks TV 20. I'm sure he's actually almost 30.
He's like 34.
So
Yeah.
she had a kid before Picard and her hooked up.
There you
I
go.
mean, listen. Here's a crazy take. I don't know. It's Riker, so I'm just kidding. Who knows who this child is? We'll find out.
We'll find out.
We got lots of hot freaks in the chat. I'm trying to see if there's any more I wanted to flag. Y'all got lots of good hot freaks in there, but I want to dive into this discussion, which is this feels like the TNG cast undiscovered country moment. You know what I mean? Like this is the
like in
TV
Star Trek
formation
6?
of this. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, the name of the episode is The Next Generation. So I expected it to have a very TNG-esque feel to it. And so I agree. It does feel like this definitely feels like a TNG movie to me.
Like Ryan, do you mean Generations or Undiscovered Country? Undiscovered Country is where you had the warbird that can stay cloaked in fire.
I might mean Generations. Yeah,
There
probably.
we go.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
I wrote the wrong thing down.
There's the torch, right? You know, the passing of the torch, or the passing of the pump action phaser.
The pump action phaser, correct? Yes. I do. Yeah, like I said earlier, I loved seeing Beverly kicking ass. I thought it was. Did y'all catch a lot of we got a montage of Beverly artifacts before we have her awaken to the alarm. There's a ton of Easter eggs in this, and we can
so much.
We can go over all of those at the end. But I wanted to see how you felt. There's a line that Picard delivers about how he doesn't feel the need to have a legacy. And I was like, spoken like a true person who already has a legacy.
Well, you know, if anything, Picard has this legacy privilege. Such legacy privilege.
Listen, I agree with everything that you guys are saying. Like someone who says, you know what, I don't need a legacy, is they're really trying to show their humility while in their head they're saying, man, I'm Jean-Luc Picard. I run this piece. Like they know me. Like he's such a name. He saved the universe time and time again. His legacy is cemented. Like it felt like false bravado to me, or false humility to me.
Yeah, I did think it was. So Terry Matalas has said that he was very inspired and wanted to do a Picard, Riker, Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid vibe for this season, which I could definitely feel in their kind of witty little banter back and forth moments they'd had in the mini shuttle pods as they went back and forth, oogling the incredible visual effects on that space station and ship. I was like very impressed. It looked so good.
Yeah, no, it's the Neo Constitution class. Like they said that, and I was going,
Yep. Not the fat ship. Is that like a reference y'all remember? Did people call their Enterprise a fat Enterprise? I was
I
have never heard
that. Is such disrespect, mind you. Disrespect.
I was like, no one wants the fat ship. I was like, what is this? Is this like a thing I'm unfamiliar with?
Well, I mean, look, I think the thing that was really interesting to me about the Enterprise D, and E for that matter, was just that it was a huge ship, right? Like the whole idea is that it had a massive complement.
I mean, it had a battle bridge.
It had you could separate, which was a horrible idea, but like this was a massive ship. When you think about Voyager, when you think about Discovery, when you think about all the other ships that we really see come after it, even Titan, these are ships that are smaller, that have a much smaller complement. So I guess you could call it a big fat ship, but I'm with Paul. That's disrespectful. Like
we're talking about the flagship of the United Federation of Planets. UFP, baby, UFP.
I'm with One Trek fan. Maybe it was fat, is what they were trying to say. It's a pH. So that I would agree with that. It was a fat ship. It absolutely was.
I wanted to kind of dig in a little bit to what we're setting up premise wise for the season so far. So we have Beverly with the distress call. We have sort of half of our known crew going out to try to rescue her via the Titan, and we will dig into Shaw and 7 of 9 in just a second. But on the other side, we have Rafi, who seemed in the beginning to be very strung out, but is instead an undercover operative of some kind, or seems to be. I wanted to ask y'all, do you think she has been put on a mission that's guaranteed to fail and she's going to be the person who takes the fall, or is she actually tasked with trying to fix this or figure this puzzle out?
Yeah, I think from the moment that I saw Rafi, I was kind of like, all right, where are we going with this? Because again, I'm not gonna lie, she's probably not my top 10 favorite characters. Part of me was just trying to figure out, is this real? Right? Is she actually on a secret undercover mission, or is somebody just really screwing with her and it's fake?
Well, it seems like I think the chat is saying it. I'm getting the vibe that they all think it's 7 of 9 is the handler.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I feel like 7-9's been pretty busy.
Yeah, and pissed. Yeah, she's got her own thing going on with.
No, apparently I'm wrong. Cheapy is correcting me. I don't know who then you all think the handler is. Worf. You think Worf is the handler? Interesting.
That's a fascinating thought. Where did that come from?
Isn't Worf like an ambassador?
He's peaceful now, right?
From the trailer, he's peaceful now. But isn't
peaceful?
The last we left him, wasn't he ambassador to? Oh, that's right.
Everyone's saying because you're a warrior, so maybe it has to be a Klingon. Is that the vibe?
Well, that's not stereotyping at all. That's
Oh, see, this is where I was going. Glenn Iverson says, I think the hand was actually a villain who helped prevent Rafi from figuring out the Red Lady. See, I'm trying to figure out, are they a villain or an ally? Are they actually on the up and up, or somebody with ulterior motives?
Like, I feel like it would be so cool if there were a villain and like Rafi and then like Picard and Riker have to go up against each other for a bit until they realize they're on the same team. That would be neat. But like, I don't know. Like, I feel like you're gonna want to see everyone together soon. So I suppose that I'm gonna take a guess that if we're gonna go with like racism, like and it is Worf, then I assume like everyone's gonna be on the same page. Rather, like they have to, right? The trailer makes it look like they're together, right? Like Riker and Worf are together. So like. But yeah, so I hear you.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I thought they definitely wanted to let us know that technology has been stolen from the Daystrom Institute. They said that multiple times for us to remember that is what's happening.
Hey Mariah, right?
Yes.
Wait, you need to make sure that you understand that portal technology has been stolen from the Daystrom Institute.
Portal mining technology, catastrophic. In the wrong hands,
weaponized. It's bad.
Yes, very, very bad, which we did see. So it is interesting to me that the clue led to something happening on the planet that Rafi was already on, which I feel like maybe plays into what you're saying, Paul, is like it is someone who might be stringing her along or didn't want her to know in the right amount of time. I don't know. It felt too like neatly packaged that the thing happened in the same space that she was already residing in. You know what I mean?
I guess I didn't understand that. Was it the same space, or was it just they just said sector blah blah blah? I didn't know
she was in District 6.
Oh, okay.
And then she said set a course for District 7.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
And go now, like hurry.
I'm just like I'm all about District 12 because like I oftentimes myself volunteer as tribute.
Oh, I was going to what was District 11 with that alien South Africa movie.
Yeah. You're District 4.
That one, sure. No. I was like, I don't remember the name. Linda brings up a good point. Was Dr. Soong at the Daystrom Institute?
I mean, everybody was at Daystrom. Isn't
Everyone
that
made
like
it. That's where
like
we eventually first found Dr. Girardi, you know?
yeah?
Uh,
I mean,
I-
yeah.
like Daystrom's the MIT of the Federation, right?
Yep.
Effectively, like or DARPA.
And
of the
it's where
Federation.
they go to, put away supercomputers. Maybe this was all actually a peanut hamper and,
Well, I would
and the supercomputer from Lower Decks.
I will start.
Wait.
I would Venmo like the production money if the villain is Peanut Hamper.
I
Okay.
would truly die of happiness if it was peanut hamper.
So I see that two things are happening here. One, we're gonna have to take a shot every time someone says the word Daystrom Institute on this show. And
District
two,
9, thank you. Our people, district. It's called it's District 9 is the movie.
Yes.
Right.
and then two, it looks like we're gonna have to find a way to weave in Peanut Hamper into every series of Star Trek.
100%.
So I'm waiting for us to talk about Peanut Hamper in Strange New World and Peanut Hamper in Discovery. We'll
100%.
Yeah.
Peanut Hamper is going to survive and make it back to Discovery. That's my call.
Yeah.
In 900 years of future.
And for Strange New Worlds, it's in like a mirror universe time travel episode.
That's right. Like she has survived the burn. Peanut Hamper.
Jeez. Okay, we're off the rails here. Just
Definitely not. I don't see why you don't understand Peanut Hamper is a
right.
valid villain in the Star Trek universe and shall come back.
Like we are the Tom Paris Warp 10 right now. We're we're everywhere at once.
Okay. Peanut Hamper is officially my least favorite character in the Star Trek
Oh
universe.
man,
Her and Badgie are gonna get together and just annihilate everything.
That's just anti-artificial life form.
So to all the listeners who are out there and people who are watching us in the pod for the first time, I really want to try and say that this doesn't happen. Like we don't get this off track every week, but I would be lying to you. So don't want to lie to you.
We are a mostly funny, never smart podcast. Yeah. Anyway.
Accurate descriptions, Paul. Accurate descriptions. All right. So we have Rafi kind of on this trajectory of a lot of death and destruction. She's not having a good time. She is on the edge of something not great. So we shall see what happens over there on that side of things for her. Back on our main plot line, we have Picard and Riker coming onto the Titan, and 7 of 9, aka Commander Henson, is in charge. What did y'all think of this concept that Shaw is making her go by her like quote unquote human name, right?
I think that is immediately when I realized that I'm just gonna say it, Shaw's an ass. Like
right.
That was like, I don't know that there is a redemption arc from him for me, because that seems so oppressive. To say that because of whatever feelings you have, to say, all right, you will be called this, right? Like you cannot be called by your name. I don't know that I'm ever gonna get past that.
It's also like he made that comment about like previous Borg folks at the table.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, someone's mad that the Borg are allowed in Starfleet.
Well, only 2.
Only 2. Well, Hugh. No, Hugh was somewhere else.
No, they're 2 people, right? It's Picard and
7.
And 7.
Yeah, I have feelings about
it's
Shaw.
problematic. It's problematic.
It's definitely problematic. And then like starting dinner before they arrived, very rude.
That was
just like a baller, that was alpha dogging. It's my ship.
No.
I thought the best small moment performance for me was when he goes, I'm more of a Malbec guy, and Picard gives him like a death glare. I was like, there's true feelings behind that statement.
I mean, listen. Okay, so you're anti-Borg. While the shade at Riker, right? Huh. You're you're throwing mad shade at Riker.
He didn't like jazz.
He didn't like jazz, but both of them have a reputation of blowing stuff up
and saving the world. Blowing stuff up and saving the world.
But my response to that is like, if you had to flip a coin and one you save the world and the other one, you put the world in great jeopardy. That's not like for example, you understand that like in the series finale of Next Generation, Picard causes the problem, right? I mean, I'm just saying, like Picard caused, like he jumps around and goes like, "Oh, we got fire that tachyon beam, fire that in 3 different timelines." Boom, he does it all, and I'm not saying it's his fault, but like, but there's this habit of like, ugh.
I feel like Shaw is someone who in school had to follow all of the rules because he wasn't charming or actually smart enough to like figure out ways to get around the rules. Does that make sense?
Well, I hear what you're saying, but wow, you're saying here's this person who is not.
I'm saying there's
enough.
2 paths to success. This is them saying there are 2 paths to the same place. You have a Riker captain and you have a Shaw captain. You can either fully play by the book and no one likes you, but you do get everything done, or you are a little bit more flexible with the rules because you understand that sometimes the rules need to catch up to where society actually is.
100%. So here's like this is I'm going to go with my mini arc. So very recently, like 2 weeks ago, a week ago, I watched Chain of Command, the episode, the 2-part episode with my wife because she had never seen it before. And this is the episode where Picard goes on a secret mission to blah blah blah. Cardassians capture him. 4 lights. There are 4 lights here.
I have that shirt. I should have worn it. For you, Paul. I should have worn my shirt.
And it's one of the best episodes. But like, only recently have I watched it. And then like you watch Jericho, and he is a jerk.
Yes,
he is a jerk. And you know what? He saves the day. He saves Picard. He saves everyone. Like in that way, like Starfleet, awesomeness is not just reserved for Picard, Riker, and James Tiberius Kirk. Like there are we just don't get to see their stories. Like I don't like the way that Jericho handled his ship, but like he truly like saved Picard's life. I don't know what to say to that. Like
I mean, I hope Shaw will prove us all wrong and he will have a similar transformation where because he follows the rules so closely, inevitably he will be the one who somehow saves the day at the end.
Sure. No,
I'm hoping he gets accidentally shot with a pump action rifle.
Man, you see that? That's a snap judgment. 1 episode, snap.
The name thing. Well, first of all, you take the name thing.
It's problematic. Absolutely.
Here's the deal. I don't care what you think about anybody. You got two basically diplomatic celebrities who join your ship, and you purposefully start dinner without them. Like, there's really no that's not an alpha move. That's a dick move. Like,
well, I mean, do you think he really thought they were there for an inspection, or do you think he smelled the tomfoolery from a mile away?
Well, exactly. To go to that point, like these 2 people, legends they are, came aboard this guy's ship to trick him to getting. I mean,
he's like, "Oh, I captain your old ship. Your friend is my first officer. Why would you do an inspection before Frontier Day exercises?"
Like he was right. Like these guys are trying to hijack his ship, and they did.
Yeah,
they did.
But I think someone in the chat earlier had said, but even after all of that, he just tells Seven to write up a report. He doesn't toss her in the brig. He doesn't say tractor beam my shuttle back into my ship. He seems kind of relinquished to, oh no, I have now been bamboozled into playing along with these old men's last mission.
Feels like the day's early. I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's not going to prove me wrong.
I will say this though, like as far as from a writing or craft perspective, I think the writers did an amazing job crafting Shaw.
Well, you need kind of a little bit of an antithetical, right? Like you need someone who's going to say no and throw some wrenches in your plot.
Exactly. And so like I go like, oh, regardless of whether my feelings towards Shaw, like the fact that he is by definition what a starship captain should be. Just kidding. But it's a great contrast to the buddiness of like Picard and Riker. Like I think it's great.
Listen, I don't disagree with you at all, Paul. I think he's written really well, and he's written really well because we keep talking about him. So 100%. I'm all for it. But I agree with P.W. Gregory. With I think Shaw should have, if he was really going to be a G, like if you really wanted me to respect him, he would have played the game a little bit better and going, okay, let's see where this goes before I shut these fools down.
Well, do you think he is setting Seven up for failure? I think he is thinking past this and says, I don't like having a Borg in Starfleet, and I'm going to find a way to make her mess up on her own so that I can just get her off my ship.
See, here's to that. Like, he has the ability to go, I want a different first officer. By the way, how long was it since season 2 versus season 3? Like maybe a year, 2 years? Like, how did she go from cadet to
well, I think it feels like it's potentially been a bit longer.
Okay, like how much longer would you say?
I don't know, maybe 5 years.
So you go from cadet to like first officer on a
I mean, if you have Janeway and Picard putting in all the good words for you to like skip up ranks.
And do you see how, as a captain, you might not be in love with that? All these people,
100%. This guy is mad that she is where she is.
Or you can look and go, man, Admiral Janeway and Picard, right? Like two legends in the game. Like they co-sign on this person. Maybe I should give them a little bit more respect than I'm giving them. Or maybe he just feels small and threatened because, Janeway and Picard are her homies, right?
Oh my God. Someone said Harry Kim is still an ensign. I love that. I love that. I love that. And truth be told, I remember when it was still Lieutenant Tom Paris. Harry was still Tom Paris went to jail and still was a lieutenant over Harry Kim.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's not perfect.
It's not, but I think anyone who spends 5 minutes with 7 of 9 has to walk away and think she's going to be a hell of a captain someday. Right. And if you're too small to see it and want to participate in that development and not in a you have to bend to my will and be me, because those are always terrible leaders. Right. If you're a leader who goes, you have to do this my way, exactly how I do it, and you can't develop the person and see what their strengths are, then you're an idiot. And that's where I think of Shaw right now is you've got 7 of 9 who could be an incredible asset to your team. Right. And you got to ride in the bench. I'm not feeling this dude. He's firmly in clown status for me right now.
Clown
status. That's right. Like I said, you see someone who's firmly entrenched in the Riker Picard culture. And I am too. I'm nice Mariah. But I'm just saying there are other alternatives. There are other ways of leadership. Once again, Jericho, not my favorite. Think he sucks. Save the day. Save Picard's life.
So I don't think Jericho is a clown, right? Because Jericho came in and was like, and you guys need order. Like he was like, I am a tool and I'm here for this particular reason. Right. So he was a bit of a jerk and aggressive, but I didn't think he was a clown. Shaw is a clown.
I don't know. It's early in the day. I'm gonna call my shot. By the end of the series, Clyde's going man, I miss Shaw. Shaw saved the day. Oh my God, Shaw is the man. He started off rough, but boy, did he shine like a diamond. My call. I'm right there.
All right. Official predictus from Paul. I wanted to ask y'all, do you think there's going to be any connective tissue between the potential terrorist group that Rafi is investigating and the people who are chasing Crusher?
It has to be.
Exactly. I think there has to be like it would just be completely weird if it's like two separate storylines for the final season.
Yeah.
I think they're going to merge. Hopefully artfully, even clumsily will be fine. But like
I think that somehow this is one big overarching kind of story.
Do we know if Seven and Rafi are still dating?
Well, she said to her fixer, drug buyer person, that her girlfriend broke up with her. So TBD if that's like a cover story as a part of being undercover, or if they did break up. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of rough waters with those two, just because they're both fairly stubborn. I imagine it's not all sunshines and rainbows, but I would love it to be. It would be nice.
I don't know. Relationships are complicated.
Yes.
Very, very true. What did y'all think about the reveal of our pilot LaForge on the Titan?
You go, Clyde. You go.
As you all, many of our long-term listeners know, I'm a huge Geordi LaForge fan, so of course I was for it. I also love the fact that she seems very different from Geordi, but she's in pretty much the same seat where we got to first see him. So before Geordi was kind of rocking the
engine room,
that engineering gold, he was a helmsman. Like he was piloting the Enterprise, and so to see his daughter in that spot just felt like it actually felt a little more right than I expected.
Yeah, I did like Crash LaForge, and then we get Riker giving uncle vibes very much when you bring like
the embarrassing uncle.
Yeah, who drops you off at school one day and is like, have a good day, embarrassing nickname in front of all of your friends.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It was, it was cute.
I hope she's the main character. I hope this is just isn't a lip service kind of thing.
Yeah, I did think it was fun. We got small glimpses of everyone kind of on the bridge of the Titan. I know in some interviews, like the Terry Metalis has said, this is definitely the closing of a chapter, but there is room to re-explore with some characters from where they're leaving this season. So it would be interesting to see them set up everyone and have a Titan series. I think no one would be mad at that.
Clyde wouldn't be.
Not at all. Well, here's the deal. I'm all for the Titan series. Like, I think that would be a great series. In order for that to happen, again, Shaw needs to be accidentally shot, and then we're off to the races.
But you don't think it would be interesting to have like a Seven and Shaw kind of counterbalance each other, even after a potential reformed Shaw, after he learns to bend the rules a little bit?
No.
Absolutely not.
I want Seven to be the captain, and I think you can bring a crew, because the truth of the matter is we see a lot of faces on this bridge crew, but so far I don't know anything about them, right? Yeah. We know one thing. We've got Seven, we've got Shaw, and then we've got Crash LaForge. Like, that's it. So I think there's an opportunity here, and for one, I think having a Titan spinoff after this, gold, where you can bring in 7 of 9, and then you can bring in a crew who we actually get to know and care about and love. I'm all for that. I'm watching it.
I wanted to ask y'all if you had any theories as to, beyond the sun of it all, why Beverly and Picard have not talked for 20 years.
Well, because obviously Picard's a cheater. He probably was philandered on her, and probably. No, I'm just kidding. The answer is I have no idea. I have no idea. Like
I tend to think that Picard's bad with maintaining relationships. But for Beverly, I think it feels personal. Like, I think, I don't know. It's like I don't know. Like, honestly, if you ask me, do I have exes that I haven't spoken to in 20 years? Yes. I mean, did we serve on a ship and almost get married and And we're that close for 7 years or however long it was? No. But I can understand not wanting to reopen that wound, I think. But I think it's something deeper than that. It hasn't been revealed to us yet.
Assuming that Beverly doesn't die, I hope we'll have that confrontation.
There is no
Beverly
no
is
way.
not dying in this
There's
first
no way.
episode. I don't think she would have signed on to do it if she died within 2 episodes. I do think it'll be interesting to see, how they resolve all of that and why she's cut off contact to everyone, because that was kind of Riker's point of like, she hasn't talked to anyone. It's not just you. So I wonder what she has been kind of up to. I know there is reference to she's been doing some sort of Doctors Without Borders type of situation, and she's not trusting the Federation anymore. So it'll be interesting to see. I find it fascinating, especially in more new Trek, that we're in a utopian quote unquote society, right? Like we are seeing these dark underbellies about how it can't always be a utopia, and there are always going to be subsets of people who don't benefit from these systems as much as the others, right? It cannot be a perfect governmental system. And I don't know, I just find it fascinating. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays into each other.
Mariah, how do you feel about that? Right? Like it's a big departure. Okay, so look, it's one thing for us to look at Strange New Worlds and then see kind of a very different Federation. It's another thing for if we go back to Discovery when it was a prequel, right? And we're looking at the Orions and we're looking at all these things. But for many of us, when you think about the Next Generation and you think about Voyager and you think about DS9, the Federation was a utopian society. It was all the things that plague us and ill us had been dealt with. Now this re-envisioning of the same time period, they're undoing that. Oh, everything's perfect inside the Federation, and there's this beacon, and we're seeing that there's some real issues. Like, if you think about it, from what Rafi has shown us, is that even in the Federation of the time period that we're used to, there was still drug addiction. Like that's a big thing for us to go from, no, we've dealt with all those things, there's no poverty, to nope, at the very same time you're thinking of, there's been drug addiction.
Well, I mean, I think it speaks to the idea that like with anything that has that much power, there's going to be corruption. Do you know what I mean? Because like there is, I think there's always the goal of the utopian society, and you can see how it is better in some ways, but it's like, who are they ignoring? What cultures haven't been integrated? Like not all of the planets involved in the Federation probably have equal say or equal voice into what's happening. Like there are definite power plays and dynamics. I think it's, at the onset of Star Trek in the beginning, it was alongside the same time as like the United Nations being formed, right? And it was this idealized version of a government that was this worldwide government, and kumbaya, we're all going to start finding ways to use diplomacy to get along. But even in this utopian society, like all of these ships still have ways to fight each other. These aren't like, there's still weapons. This is still a very like naval feeling vibes. There's still some sort of militarization happening here. So I think to me, it's a smart evolution to say, like, yes, the idea that anything could be a perfect utopia is still in the future. And there's like always room for growth, which I think to me is the heart of Star Trek. It's like, you should always be aspiring to be better.
Like even in like, DS9, there was the Orion Syndicate that like, like O'Brien kept on like, being part of, right? So and there's Section 31 where like you have all these aspects that like there's the top level of like here's perfect society, and then there's the under level of like, and here's the sewer of society and all the things that make this level possible. And I do feel like I'm with you, Clyde. It sounds to me like you're a little conflicted about seeing the non-utopia plus, of our, like of our next gen, like experience, and it's interesting because I think it's a great evolution. I don't know if I get the same feeling about it in the same way that I used to uh, when I watched Next Gen for the first time. Like, I don't even know if I could accept a clean version of society at this point.
Yeah. Well, do you also think it might be like when you go back and reflect on a lot of, like, we go back and rewatch old episodes, and like, yes, there's those like idealized theories and metaphors and like plot lines that we have, but we can all see the like societal influences of the time that it has been made, right? Like how
100%.
and how those things leak in. And so I think it's, like all good sci-fi is commenting on the state of the world today.
100%.
Yeah, you asked if I'm conflicted. I don't know that I'm conflicted, but you bring up a good point. Like, also, here's the interesting thing that I can't separate is that just as the series has changed and the world has changed, I've changed, right? Like, truth be told, I was a teenager, a young adult when I was watching TNG and when I was watching Voyager and DS9, and the idea of an idealized world that where I didn't have to deal with the stuff that I was dealing with in the 90s was really fascinating. The idea that here's a world without poverty, here's a world without racism, here's a world without sexism. Like that really appealed to me.
Sure.
30 years later, am I a little bit more jaded? Am I a little bit more experienced? Yeah. And so would I sign up for a series that said, hey, here's a world? Like, I don't know that I'd be drawn to it the same way.
Yeah, no, me too.
And I've seen so much. We've all seen so much in the last 5-10 years, right? That this feels like a show and storylines that are more reflective of what we know, yet it's still aspirational because we're looking at people fighting to overcome it, to save it. And so I'm conflicted, but I'm not the same. So to your point, Paul, I'm not even sure that I could accept, like, if TNG came out today, could I be like, oh man, this is great? I'd be like, this is so unbelievable. Like, that never happened. I don't know. It's a good question.
No, it's I had a weird experience the other day, and this is going to minus sidetrack come back. I was driving, and that Dawson's Creek song, like, I don't want to wait for my, that came on, and I almost cried. Not because I love that song so much.
It was Joey Porter. You miss Joey?
Yeah, I miss Joey. That's right. It's because but because
you're a big Pacey fan.
Stop it. There was a no-win situation there. It was a no-win. But I was going like, oh, I do remember a simpler time. I'm not saying I would prefer that time, but I remember things were simpler. And so I look at Next Gen, and every time I watch.
Have you watched Dawson's Creek?
I have
like,
not. I have not.
Rewatch. Let's just say it's not as idealized, I think, as we all remember. And simple. It opens with a student and a teacher having an affair.
Yeah. My response was the time frame, not the show. But Star Trek, I always when I stress watch TNG nowadays, it's just because I go like, oh, it's simpler. I don't watch I just watch. Oh, it's simpler that. Of course, Picard is right. Of course, there's a right thing to do. And I feel like today's Star Trek doesn't do that as much. I think Strange New World has a great balance of it, but I think Picard in this season 3 is also hitting a balance that I like, where it's enough realism where I go, this isn't fake, or like, I mean, it has wormholes, so it's fake. But
inevitably our heroes are going to be okay, right?
It's right. Like the right pinch of realism and the right amount of like idealism. Those two things.
You bring up a really good point. This very podcast kicked off with the pilot of Discovery, and if we think about that, in Discovery, Burnham was put in an almost impossible position, right? There was a no-win. Does she go on her instincts, which is very Picard Riker-like, or does she go follow by the book? Like that, there was a no-win situation. And what we saw, very different, was we saw her go with her instincts and ultimately get demoted and put in prison for it, which we've never seen. And I guess that's to Shaw's point.
Yeah.
We've never seen Riker or Picard or Kirk ever really get taken to task for these outlandish acts that they've done.
Oh wait, did you say outlandish acts? Did you just say that?
I
Do you
did.
admit that they're outlandish?
Outlandish acts that save the world. Yes, I'm not saying, just saying. At the end of the day, you go, wow. You say you don't go, you know what? Thank you for saving the world. I'm now going to put you in jail. You say, thank you for saving the world. Man, I wouldn't have done it, but you did it, and I appreciate that you did it. Congratulations. Here's a medal, and you move on and you thank them for their service.
Well, to just the minor thing in the Gambit, you know, where Riker and Picard and find that Vulcan artifact at the very end, you know, like Data goes like, well, Commander Riker, you've committed mutiny, and like Picard goes, well, I'm dead, so I'm gonna go to sleep. And then Data takes Riker to the bridge, and he goes, I was just joking, but Data keeps it going. So,
oh man, there were quite a number of Easter eggs in this episode. I was trying to just hit on a couple of them, but I'll let y'all know that Den of Geek has a very comprehensive list if you all want to check it out. So this episode opens up with in the 25th century, which is obviously a callback to the Wrath of Khan, which starts with in the 23rd century. And then we also hear a few notes of the first contact score as the episode starts. And what's interesting is each season of Picard has started with a different sort of classic standard. Mm-hmm. So this one is I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire. Prior to that, there was Blue Skies, and season 2 was Time Is on My Side. So what do you think is, if there was a theme to be pulled from Blue Skies season 1, Time Is on My Side season 2, to I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire season 3, what do you think they're trying to say with our song selection choice?
I think this has to do with like we talked about legacy, right? Like, you know, like, is it going to be are the things that I'm going to do going to set the world on fire? Like, you know, like, so like in that way, like, you know, I assume that that's what it's about. Just very literal like that. So I'm going to stop talking now because I obviously don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because like this episode almost opened up the exact same way as season 1, episode 1, which is like just like shots of space with a standard playing. And I was just like, wait, did I start playing
exactly
the wrong episode? But then I was like, no, this isn't Blue Skies. So that, yeah, Chippy and I did the exact same thing. That definitely happened to me as well. I was trying to see if there's any other like bigger. Oh, so they're talking about Frontier Day, which I have not heard in any other series as being a holiday that we're sort of aware of. I've heard of Picard Day. There's also the day where they kind of honor all of their fallen, you know, past shipmates that we had in Strange New World. But apparently what it has here is Frontier Day commemorates 250 years of boldly going. But this is not the birthday of the Federation, which is younger than Starfleet because the Federation was founded in 2161. And Starfleet predates the Federation by several decades. And so if season 3 takes place in 2402, it means it's celebrating something that happened the year of 01 Enterprise, either 2151 or 2152. Any thoughts on what it is?
This isn't like
celebrating
Cochrane and discovering like the warp signature, the first contact with the Vulcans.
That's first contact day.
First contact day.
I think this is probably like Starfleet is a Terran based, an Earth based thing, right? It started that way, and then after that, like the United Federation planets came after, like in season 4 of Archer's like Enterprise. So like I imagine this is the inception of humans going out into space.
Oh yeah. So according to Memory Alpha,
I was just looking at the same.
yeah, there is the first starship to use Warp 5 engines, opening up new exploration from Earth.
Enterprise in Columbia, baby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it was also when we first made contact with the Klingon Empire. That's interesting. Same year, big year.
Well, what happened with the Klingons crashed onto Earth? Yeah.
And then we have our encounter with the Ferengis. Yeah, all kinds of stuff going on in that year. So I guess we'll see what this Frontier Day exercises are.
My friend Clyde said Archer was the best captain by far, hands down.
Oh, listen. If you were, if
we
this
don't
is
need
your
to
first
go
time,
into we don't need to go into captain slander on this show,
Listen,
guys. We got a lot
I'm
of new
just
viewers.
saying-
We're really going
I'm
to
just
turn away
saying.
a bunch.
I'm just saying, if you are new here, don't believe that. That's all I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We can
But
show
stick
Enterprise
around.
some
Come back, and you'll understand all of the inside feelings that I have for Enterprise.
all the inside feelings. Any predictions to what you all think is going to happen in our next episode? Are we going to get Beverly out of the fridge?
Yes.
Maybe. I don't know. Like I assume that that ship, whatever that ship is, the mean looking ship.
It looks like, doesn't it look like the Romulan ship from
exactly.
Kelvinverse?
Yeah.
In the front half,
the Shitar or something like that.
I'm assuming that with the warp drive offline, and that they don't have a Jodie LaForge on like Beverly's ship.
Yeah,
that the Titan is going to come help them. I have
to
assume
what
that.
I would assume as well. Yeah.
And so there'll be, and in the trailer you saw the Titan fighting that ship. So it was a trailer, so I don't know what to say other than that. But like, I think it'll be interesting. I assume that Shaw will save the day. I just need to see Clyde's reaction.
No.
But yeah, so I assume that, like, because I didn't see two ships, that this ship is going to not make it.
I'm expecting Picard Riker shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting a space battle.
Mm-hmm.
And I am expecting more old people on the bridge.
Old people.
Yeah, I'm ready to see, I think, LaForge and the whole LaForge family together on a ship. I'm here for their little get together.
Listen, if you've watched the show for a while, I love a good team up. I love a good team up. I'm waiting for it because with all the artwork, I'm expecting at some point we're basically going to have the entire senior staff minus maybe Deanna. And then maybe Deanna. I'm expecting we're going to have the entire senior staff at some point on the bridge of the ship.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if it'll happen next episode, but it's definitely going to happen
not
later.
Yeah. That's a lot to pull off in the next episode. If they did that, I'd be disappointed.
I did
but I think we're going to start collecting them.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
I
Pokemon.
thought it was interesting to have Riker sort of maybe hint that there's trouble brewing at home in his marriage and family when he's like, yeah, they'll be happy I'm not home.
Yeah, no. Like I would be like with those bad dad jokes and like Crash. Isn't that what they call it? Not able to read the room.
Too many bad dad jokes and not enough pizza.
I don't know. Like I would say my biggest moment is like I didn't feel like Jonathan Frakes consistently hit the Riker tone. I felt like it jumped between Jonathan Frakes and Riker. It's having just a little too much fun with it in a way that I don't think everyone else didn't break character, right? So
it's I think that's an interesting point, Paul, and I think it's hard because again, it's been a long time and Frakes has done a lot of stuff between donning Riker. It does feel more like Frakes, right?
I mean, like he was Riker like in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so.
I still thought he was a lot of Frakes, actually.
Oh, I hear you. I hear the words.
Maybe Riker is just more Frakes as he ages.
It could be. It could
and
be.
That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it's a lot.
I'm waiting for as soon as I see him take a seat on a chair in a perfect Riker way, then everything will be fine.
I guess, like just sit there and then all of a sudden, like, like tucking his shirt.
I mean, to the point, like, it's been a long time, and I think when we left the Enterprise, Riker was he was number one.
Mhm.
He was a second guy, right? Since then, in real life, he's become a boss. Like, he's become the top guy. And even in Star Trek canon, when you look at the books and stuff like that, he's a top guy now.
Mhm.
And so I think we're seeing a different Riker. We're seeing a more mature Riker. We're seeing an older Riker. I think we're seeing a Riker who looks at Jean-Luc Picard as an equal and not as a mentor anymore. Right. And so I think we're seeing something different, and I'm for it. It's just the Riker tone is a little bit different than it was back on TNG.
Yeah. We shall see. We shall see how they all grow with their age as we get to revisit all of these characters. It'll be interesting for sure. Anything else you want to talk about before we sign off for the evening?
Well, just that I'm a really big fan of how this is going. The pilot star banger, introducing the new protagonist of the Star Wars series, like Captain, like
I knew it.
Yeah, baby, yeah, baby.
Oh,
Captain Sus.
Shaw.
Captain Sus.
Captain Sus.
Captain Sus. Okay. Anything from you, Clyde?
I'm interested to see how we've got these two main storylines right now.
Mhm.
We've got the storylines in the ship, kind of in the edge of the Federation space, and then we've got this thing going on with Rafi and her handler. I want to know who her handler is, right? I want to see that coming together. I think we've heard there's a couple threads that people in the chat have mentioned today, right? Like, we've dismissed a couple of them. People say Worf is the handler. There's this discussion of who is this kid and who is Beverly Crusher's baby daddy. Is it some John Doe? Is it somebody out there? Is it Picard? I want to know, and I'm curious how soon we have to wait to get some of those answers. Will it be the next episode?
We shall see, and we will be talking about it again live next week.
Wait.
Yes.
What if Shaw is the handler?
I don't think he is, but sure, Paul.
It's a good one, though. That was a good one.
It's a good one. It's a good theory, Paul. It's a good theory. But as I was saying, we will be back next week to talk about I think it's just the next generation part 2, I think, is next week. We will be back with another live stream and review. You can subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on Apple, as well as find links at StarTrekPod.co to everywhere you can listen, as well as to our Patreon. Clyde, where can people find us on Twitter?
You can always find us at Star Trek Pod on Twitter. Shout out to Karen, who runs our Twitter. Thanks, Karen.
We appreciate you, Karen. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight for Star Trek Discovery Pod. We will be back again soon. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.